day and welcome to the AAU TV Mid-Week News, and we are coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana. And my name is Lydia Nyame. With me are
Jemima, Deladem, Dotsey.
And my name is Agyemang, Okyere, Darko.
Now the headlines on higher education. 2 African universities makes it to top 100 global impact rankings. And again, African university leaders sign SDG agreement.
And in our health news, there is a shift from food insecurity to nutrition security to increase health and well-being. And also sleep keeps things on track for good mental health.
In our technology news, 5G technology expands to Kenya and Southern Africa. We're glad that you made time to watch the AAU TV Mid-Week News. And we'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more of higher education, health, and tech news. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay safe. Wash your hands with soap under running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
Welcome back from the break. And the University of Johannesburg in South Africa and ASWAN University in Egypt have been placed in the top 100 institutions in the world for their work towards the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, according to the 3rd edition of the annual Times Higher Education. 2 African universities, the University of Johannesburg in South Africa and ASWAN University in Egypt, are placed in the top 100 institutions in the world for their work towards the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, according to the 3rd edition of the annual Times Higher Education Impact Rankings. On a table of about 1,100 universities around the world, the University of Johannesburg has been ranked as an institution performing best on SDG Goal 8, on decent work opportunities and economic growth, and ranked 4th for SDG Goal 1, no poverty. In terms of the top 100, it was placed in position 92. The Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, released on April 21, placed ASWAN University at overall 95th position. 2 other African universities, Morocco's Ibn Tufayl University and South Africa's University of Cape Town, were placed in the 101 to 200 band of global rankings. Overall, the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom has topped the table, but Australia's system outperformed the rest, with its universities claiming 4 positions in the overall ranking top 10, 3 more than any other country or region. Professor Chilezi Mawala, the Vice-Chancellor of University of Johannesburg, said the university community received the results with joy and celebration. Through these impact rankings, the university is demonstrating its work in tackling global issues and that its endeavors have not gone unnoticed, said Mawala. Professor Mohammed Urabi, the head of ranking committee and the Deputy Dean for Postgraduate Studies in Scientific Research at ASWAN University, told University World News that the institution will, through its ranking office team, analyze its activities towards SDGs to determine its strong and weak point. Well, great news for Africa, Johannesburg University and of course ASWAN University. But first, let's assess ASWAN University's performance on the ranking table with regards to what got them there, Jemima.
I'll say the idea behind institutions of higher education being ranked according to the SDG is laudable. And taking ASWAN University taking the 95th position regarding the 95th position in totality of 1,100 universities is also a self-built confidence to help African institutions take or follow suit. And, this indicates that higher education institutions in Africa are actually doing something, even though there is more room for improvement. So, ASWAN University was ranked 8th for SDG Goal 2, which is the Zero Hunger, and 31st for SDG Goal 11, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities, and also 33rd for SDG Goal 17, which talks about partnership for goals.
Okay.
You know, I believe ASWAN University was not given this ranking just for giving sake. You know, they got to know that this is where their strength lies, and they put in their efforts, resources in order to, you know, get the rankings that they were able to get. So I think they deserve this ranking better as well.
Okay, you know, Agyemang, what's got the University of Johannesburg to the 92nd position?
Well, I was just speaking from the words of the Professor Chalize Mawala, who expressed that great delight for that wonderful award and ranking because of the extent of investment they had made into teaching and learning, and more importantly, the research and development. I mean, research is the heartbeat of life, and if you do not invest adequately into these fields, then you don't even deserve achieving such heights. Maintaining the position from last year and also improving upon where they were to this year's 92nd out of 100 universities globally. And their contributions to the SDG is enormous. And unlike the ASWAN University, I think out of a number of SDGs were ranked out of 3. The University of Johannesburg was ranked more than, I think, 6 of these SDGs. Most importantly, part of the SDG 17, which is the overall most important. If you do almost everything and want to be part of the overall rankings, then you need to express some sort of commitment to cross-border exchanges and collaboration. We can find some of these in exchange programs, teacher transfer, so we can share that knowledge. This is one more important thing that they were doing. And beyond that, the SDG Goal 5.8, which is the economic growth and decent work. University of Johannesburg did well in terms of creating more jobs through their graduates. And it is one key nugget that we can use to measure their growth.
Okay, you know, we look forward to seeing more of African universities make it to the top, but how exactly do universities appear in the overall ranking table?
You know, ASWAN University and University of Johannesburg being the only 2 universities in Africa getting to the top 100 is, you know, a good step, and I congratulate them a lot. And then, you know, our SDGs look at addressing issues of global development and all that, and realizing that these SDGs, you know, go a long way to help countries and, in other words, help us as individuals. So moving forward, we hope to see more African universities, you know, gaining the stance, you know, getting into the ranking system and making it to the top.
Okay, Agyemang, any other?
Yeah, most importantly, within the direction in our continent that can help us to also drive our resources towards something. The SDGs is one global footprint that we can adopt to, but we also have the Agenda 2063 that is also African oriented. It's tailored to our good, our development. I don't think that we should neglect the Agenda 2063 because it was formed by the African Union and was meant for the African society. So we should also work with the SDG and the AU Agenda 2063 in hand because they are all about strengthening and making sustainability a commonplace in our continent and globally.
Okay, now still on higher education, the vice chancellors of 4 leading African universities have committed their institutions to work towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as part of a global pact signed by 56 higher education institutions. The vice chancellors of 4 leading African universities have committed their institutions to work towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as part of a global pact signed by 56 heads of higher education institutions. The vice chancellors signed the joint statement of global university leaders on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development last month. The 4, Makerere University in Uganda, the University of Lagos in Nigeria, together with Stellenbosch University and the University of Cape Town in South Africa, are a group that spans 30 countries. The leaders were attending the first global online forum for university presidents on the role of universities in the 2030 Agenda, hosted in China. Professor Ghulam Mohammed Bai, the former Secretary General of the Association of African Universities and the Honorary President of the International Association of Universities, said that although African universities were not active in promoting the United Nations Millennium Development Goals, they have been reasonably active with regards to SDGs, which replace the MDGs on global developmental agenda. Well, there we have it. African university leaders signing SDG agreements. You know, the report mentioned that funding and then shortage of qualified staff affects growth in various institutions. But to what extent does it affect growth?
Okay, I would say growth in this sense has to do with higher education institutions being able to produce graduates who will make a difference in the society.
Okay.
Also, institutions being able to accommodate their students and also pay their staffs very well. And you know, growth goes with investment.
Exactly.
When you want to go, you have to invest, like not only financially, but you have to invest your resources and other stuff. There was a case in Juba University, South Sudan, where an institution almost closed down because of lack of funds. So we see that funds goes a long way to help an institution in growing. And I also talk about there is growth in competition.
Okay.
When an institution is not growing, it can't compete with others. We see students nowadays who want to go to Cambridge and the high schools around. You ask yourself, why is it so? Because you have schools in your country, but you still want to go out to further your education. This means that they see that those particular schools having the resources, having good and adequate qualified teachers who teach, putting their resources, putting their funds to make the institution right, to be a place to study. Okay. So I think growth and adequate qualified teachers goes a long way to help an institution's growth.
Okay, Agyemang.
Yeah, I think that this is a point of call for strategic direction for our institutions in Africa. It is better for you to crawl to a destination you have an idea of than to run around knowing where you want to go.
Okay.
And Jemima mentioned the adequate funds and resources to help investors reach that goal. But I'm saying that you can have all the resources and everything at stake, but if you lack the leadership that will carry on the foresight, the visions, the aims, and the strategic direction, there can never be a point where you can achieve anything.
Okay.
So beyond that, African universities and their leadership should have that destination. The goal must be clear, and everybody in the institution must understand what we're moving to. Okay. And when that is done, we will be able to have a calling. We'll now know what we are accounting for. SDG number what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 17. Because there is a direction.
What then will be the impact of the SDG agreements on the future and development of African institutions?
I would say the 17 SDG, each of them are looking at help solve or address issues regarding national or global development. And our higher education are also raising graduates who will help solve these problems through research and innovation. So I think the signing of these agreements is a wake-up call for higher education institutions, not only to produce graduates, but also graduates who will make a difference. Let me quote Professor Villas' words. He said, university campuses are places of innovation where spaces could be created for people to come up with solutions to problems. So the impact of this agreement is going to help to impact more on our African system and innovation.
Okay, Agyemang.
Yeah, making sustainability a commonplace and also driving such innovativeness and problem-solving graduates out there is the basics for, the biggest call for every university in the world. And if we are signing up to an agreement that will usher us and that will make us responsible to account for all of these targets, and I think we're in the right place.
Okay, so to our health news, there is a new article that argues that today's health and equity challenge call for the U.S. to shift from food insecurity to nutrition security to catalyze appropriate focus and policies on access not just to food, but healthy, nourishing food.
We are facing a global fight to address one of the biggest challenges of our time. 5 years after committing to eradicate hunger, we are not on track to reach our goals by 2030.
Chronic hunger is up by 10 million people in 1 year and up by nearly 60 million in 5 years. Almost 690 million people went hungry in 2019, with numbers highest in Asia and rising fastest in Africa.
If these trends continue, more than 840 million people will be hungry by 2030, with Africa overtaking Asia as the region affected most. The COVID-19 pandemic could add over 100 million people to this distressing toll.
Overcoming hunger is just one part of the problem. 2 billion people do not have regular access to safe, nutritious and sufficient food. In 2019, 144 million children under the age of 5 were stunted,
while 47 million were affected by wasting. We are not on track to meet our 2030 targets for child stunting, low birth weight and exclusive breastfeeding.
Countries are also facing the growing burden of obesity linked to poor quality diets, with 676 million of adults obese.
Around the world, many people are suffering from hunger, food insecurity and malnutrition because they cannot afford healthy diets.
Even the cheapest healthy diets are out of reach for more than 3 billion people in the world. In sub-Saharan Africa,
really interested with what we are hearing about our food insecurity. But do you agree to the fact that we should focus on nutrition security rather than food security? And why do you think so?
Well, most definitely, I agree that people should focus more on the nutrients in the food they take more than just consuming any kind of food, because I believe with good nutrition comes good health. You know, taking in food that's nutritious alone aids with healthy weight. And beyond that, it also helps in reducing the risk of contracting other diseases. Some of the risk are heart diseases, diabetes, cancers, and a whole lot of diseases. So personally, I think people should focus on nutritious food than just any other food.
Yeah, notwithstanding Lydia's submission, I think we have some very shocking statistics from the World Bank in terms of 3 billion people not being able to afford cheap, and also 13% of the world population are going obese.
Yes.
What kind of food are we eating these days?
Exactly.
So many kinds of foods that we eat these days are not so nutritious, not because of the vitamins wise or the nutrition wise, but when we eat these foods, what happens to us? We go obese, get heart attacks, and then they die. So it is sad that the world. I think it's a good direction that the world is shifting from just food security to nutrition security, because it's about how we can live well and get good health and not just eat any kind of food, like how the SDG Go 3 addresses.
Sure, but in some parts of Africa, is nutrition security important? Because, you know, getting the nutrition in food is even something else. How much more, you know, getting the food?
I know these are very ambiguous, very over-ambitious targets, basically.
Okay.
I wouldn't say they are so easy to just eradicate hunger everywhere in the world, especially even just taking away hunger and providing that nutritious quality. That's a whole challenge. But must we fold our arms and say we can't actually achieve it, so we won't make an attempt? I think there's a call for us to can attempt, and this how well. For us to provide food, I think we should take the right steps to produce the right kind of food, so that these kind of foods are cheap and available. We can make it happen. People are dying because of malnutrition. People are dying because of poor nutrients, and we can't do anything about it in this age. I know COVID-19 came to put a stall on food availability, decrease demand, and make food very expensive these days. But there is a need for us to work so hard and break the odds. So,
you know, Agyemang, I'm glad you mentioned that due to COVID-19, food and certain stuff have become expensive. You know, taking food that has got good nutrition in it comes with cost. And if we are talking about the mere person who doesn't even have enough money to feed himself or perhaps his or her family in a day, how can such a person consider good nutrition when the money is not even there?
Yeah, you know, I'm not here to tell anybody out there how to get the right food, but I know that in our own delights in Africa, we have very low budget food or some diets which are quite affordable
Such
to make.
as
Fufu is
Fufu with rice.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Are you sure fufu
Yeah.
is that cheap?
A family in the rural area gets their cassava and plantain and get some nice soup with some few fish in there. Can make a balanced diet. So balanced diet is not about just having the junk food and all of those oil in there. It's something that can give you the right nutrient. And we know that. We know, yeah. I think gari with egusi soup to my Nigerians is the best. You get a point? So it's amazing, right? It's not so difficult to get your gari, egusi, and gari and ogbono soup. Now these are all balanced diets, and we can make it happen. Just that we have to make it available and cheaper for many people to so.
I think it's the only thing I can agree with you on that. We need to make it available and cheaper for such people.
Yeah.
Exactly. So moving on, as families settle back into a new school year, sleep experts are reminding parents about the importance of teenagers getting enough sleep, cautioning them that insufficient sleep can negatively affect their mental health.
Good morning. In today's Health Watch, sleep and your memory. It turns out the amount and quality of sleep you get at night may affect your memory later in life. A new study tested sleep patterns of people between the ages of 45 and 80 who did not have any memory problems. Those who slept less than 6.5 hours or had tiny awakenings throughout the night were more likely to develop plaque in their brains. The plaque is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease and usually shows up years before memory loss begins. Although it's too soon to be sure, researchers think lack of sleep could be a risk factor for Alzheimer's, and improving sleep could prevent or slow the illness. Other studies have found sleep is important for memory throughout our lives, especially in childhood. Sleep-deprived kids have shorter attention spans and don't learn as efficiently. And sleep plays a role in turning short-term memories into long-term ones, and that's essential for learning new information. Ultimately, the research is just more evidence of how important sleep is to our physical and mental health, and another reminder to try to get enough shut-eye every night. I'm Dr. Holly Phillips.
Okay, so that was a report from CBS News. But I want to ask, what does sleep actually do for a human body regarding our mental health?
I know, without even going deep scientifically, basically, the human body has a role it plays in each day. Every human part have what they do. And after a whole day's work, these parts of the bodies undergo rest. Even the machines we work with.
Exactly.
Rest. Imagine you put a machine on for 24 hours and you don't put it off. It's overheats, friction takes place, and then it begins to break down. It happens all the time. So imagine the human body overworking itself for so much time and not having the rest to rejuvenate energy. What happens? There's a breakdown.
Yeah.
And according to the study, we realize that the brain is plagued. So you find the brain undergoing multiple fractures and for internal bleeding because the body has done so much that it can afford to do. So basically, we need to afford the body that time of rest, which should not be, compromised. Give the body the rest it needs so the body can do as it can do for you daily.
Okay, I would want to add that so many researchers over the years have discovered a clear link between sleep deprivation and teenage depression. So many teenagers out there are stressed. Some are stressed from homes, from school, and most especially on social media, which greatly affects their mental health. So if this study is saying that teenagers should get enough sleep and it would help their mental health, then I think they should have enough of it, but not so much of it.
Too much, sure, because too much of everything is bad. Don't go anywhere as we bring you science and technology news after this short break.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay at home, stay safe. Wash your hands with soap under running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
So finally, Safaricom has launched its 5G network in Kenya, making the East African country the second in Sub-Saharan Africa to launch a network. Let's watch what happened during the launch. Not long ago, Safaricom launched its 5G network in Kenya, making the East African country the second in sub-Saharan Africa to launch such a network. South Africa became the first when Vodacom began the rollout of its 5G network there in May 2020. Like in South Africa, the launch of the new 5G network in Kenya will occur in pieces, beginning with both individuals and businesses in Nairobi, Kisumu, Kisii, and Kakamega. Over the coming year, Safaricom intends to expand access to 150 cities across 9 towns. Experts hope the technology will bridge the region's digital divide, which has become more apparent given COVID-19 related lockdowns, resulting in increased reliance on internet in all areas of life. 5G networks offer data speed up to 100 times faster than 4G and can support up to 1 million connected devices per square kilometer. Currently, only 3% of the world's mobile connections are on 5G. Sub-Saharan Africa will be playing catch-up for some time. So there we find a number of fascinating scenes with the introduction of the 5G network in Africa. But I want to find out from you, what do you think is the impact of the 5G network, and particularly to the growth of the African economy? What role would the 5G network play?
Well, for me, I would say that the 5G network is definitely going to better our lives, because clearly the mobile industry has demonstrated the ability that it can connect and also transform our society, especially with its 2G, 3G, 4G. And I personally believe that 5G promises to do more, because with 2G, it basically offered voice calls, SMS, and then a maximum of 115 kilobytes per second. What could you possibly do with that? You couldn't do anything with that. Yeah. And then 3G came in and then offered a better internet speed, which ranged from 5.8 to 14.4 megabytes per second. It wasn't enough, but definitely better than 2G. 4G came in, gave all the qualities I've already mentioned, and then in terms of internet speed, offered 100 to 1,000 megabytes per second. And with that, I can say that students will attest to it, that it has aided in education. Now you can access the internet more better. But then 5G is offering what I've already mentioned, including enhanced data, mobile broadband, and then industrial application. I mean, I think we've been talking about the Internet of Things on our subsequent news, but with 5G networks, it makes it possible. 5G networks would make the Internet of Things applicable. It will make it come into reality. So personally, I think 5G network will better life.
Can't wait to see all this happen. Jemima, what do you think about this?
Notwithstanding what Lydia said, I would just say that 5G actually is going to be an improvement of 4G, and we are hoping to get things better with our education, moving online, and our work schedules, our workshops, and other things online without any difficulty, making internet connection accessible and very fast to use. So I think it's going to help us.
That's amazing.
Well, that is all for the news, and in wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of our headlines. On higher education, 2 African universities makes it to top 100 global impact ranking. And again, African university leaders signed SDG agreement.
And in our health news, there is a shift from food insecurity to nutrition security to increase health and well-being. And also, sleep keeps things on track for good mental health.
And in our science and technology news, we saw the expansion of the 5G network into Kenya and South Africa.
Well, thank you very much for staying with AAU TV as we keep you informed. My name is Lydia Nyame.
And I am Jemima Deladem Dotsey.
My name is Agyemang. Darko. We're glad you joined us for the AAU TV Mid-Week news. Don't go anywhere, watch more of our programs, and stay tuned for more news next time. Take care, bye.